so many shifts around us that are both physical and emotional, and we're having to do things differently. Just for me to witness City with her, it's her right hand that she can't use, and she's right-handed. So, and I have my bad knee. So we said together we have a full body. We have 2 arms and 2 legs, but separately we're not that good. I hobble around, she can't cut things, and it's crazy, but we're learning ways to do things differently. And it's a beautiful opportunity to come out of our habits and how we see how many things we do rote, how we're doing one task and you're just opening something and you're not even paying attention to it, and you're actually reaching for something else at the same time. So it's creating an opportunity, but it's interesting. It's very stressful. And I will say, in all of this, as we've all been having to adapt to new scenarios and a new mindset, to be really generous with ourselves, it's tiring. What I've noticed is that you just are you're more tired because it's requiring more of us to rethink how we're doing things, and everything's different. How we go grocery shopping, everything's different. So really be soft with yourself, soften into that. This is a time for with the shifts that are happening, for us to embrace that we can be gentle with ourselves, and we can allow ourselves more rest and more thoughtfulness and just a little more latitude. So I just like to say that because I'm experiencing that, and it's interesting. So so what to do? So here we are today, and I would like to speak today to, we're here. I was thinking to myself, why is it that we're gathering? What is it that what's our goal? I'm sure each of you would have something to say about why you return early on Saturday morning to be with a group of people that aren't even in your, they're not even here. Like, we're all scattered everywhere, but we still are gathering. And I'd like to say that have this conversation today, or this discussion today, to be about the freedom that I think all of us are actually hoping for in companionship while we're here together as a community, that what we're really aiming towards is freedom and liberation. And so in the spiritual world, we'll call it moksha and enlightenment and awakening, or emptiness or bliss. We have all these words. And that's why we're here, is to let go of. And so what does it mean to be awake, or to be enlightened, or to be in bliss? What does that really mean? And ultimately, this freedom comes from the ability to let go of anxious thoughts, old patterns, repetitive and unhealthy behaviors which distress us, so that we can be our most authentic self and feel that joy and that simplicity of life. That our lives are so complex because they just are. And when we see them as being complex, then we feel more overwhelmed and more tethered to this life. And if we can just let go of some of that, how do we do that? What does that mean? When you look at beings, teachers and beings who are in that enlightened or awakened state, they have it's as though they've taken off layers off of their bodies and they've just discarded them. So we talked last week about discarding songs on our playlist that weren't serving us. And now we're going to talk about layers. I want to talk a little bit today about the layers that we're carrying around, that we don't have to, that we can decide to let go. And so one of the ways that we do this is we take a look at our karmic cycles and the karmic bondage that we're in. And so I know, and how do we handle this karma? So karma is a very heavily laden word. And it's very, in the Eastern tradition, it's used and it has many meanings. But I'd like to say that in our Western vernacular, we talk about karma when we're going into behavioral therapy and cognitive therapy and Jungian therapy, when you're really exploring the essence of yourself and what you're brought along to where you are today, and how do you look at that and what changes do you want to make? That's really about karma, because we're at the intersection today. We're at the intersection of everything we're bringing with us, whether you believe in past lives or not. You have a past in this life. So there's a past that's coming, and it might be from your family traditions. It might be from complications in relationships. Whatever it is, you're bringing that with you. that doesn't just go away. So we're having to handle the past with what's appearing for us in our present, just leaving out the future, not knowing that. But we're at the intersection of this input that's coming and these experiences that we've had, and we're having to decipher that. What does that mean? What is useful? What's current and I should be carrying with me, and what should I be letting go of? So I want to use the language karma, but really not to get it held hostage in thinking of it through an Eastern mindset. So people in the Western world often say, well, I'll do this and it's going to be good karma for me, and that's good. Or I won't do this because that will create bad karma. And that's just wrong relationship with karma. It's our Western way of packaging it and making it really nice, as though every time we're good, something good's going to come back. Or as though every time we do something that's not good, something's going to go wrong in our life. That's really holding ourselves hostage to a mindset. This is not how karma works. So I want to talk a little bit about how karma really works in our lives, and how we might be able to utilize the tool of karma to understand how our lives are shifting and what influences are in our lives that we can alter, change, accept, remove. We have many choices. So in the Eastern tradition, we generally talk about 3 or 4 different types of karma, and that these are places from which we've gathered karma. So the first is Paraba, and that's fully matured and ripened karma. So the way that we can look at this as a metaphor is to say that we have a tree that's growing in the garden of our soul, or we have a whole grove of trees growing in the garden of our soul, and there's fruit on our trees. And this particular fully matured karma, called Paraba karma, is that which the fruit has already matured and it's dropping to the ground. And that fruit represents things in our lives that have already happened, or in past lives that are now, they're not changeable. They're experiences and occurrences that are flooding into our life and affecting us now, and we have no control over it. And those things we have to just shore ourselves up for. How do we deal with historical things that come into our lives? We aren't responsible for those. So that's one type of karma. The second type of karma is called Sanchita, and that's stored karma. And that's the fruit on the trees that is ripening. It's in a state of ripening. It's still hanging on the tree. And this karma we haven't experienced yet. And the beauty of this karma is that we have the capacity to change it. So this karma isn't just going to happen to us. It actually is something. So these would be habits, patterns, behaviors, responses that we start to see. I can change those and change outcome. I have control over that. Or relationships, letting go of relationships that aren't serving you, making changes in this ripening fruit to say, before it falls to the ground and I no longer can have any input on it, it's just going to happen in my life. Before that, I have this control in the stage while the fruit is still ripening. So in this place of ripening fruit, we have to be really in awareness. So we bring up this awareness again and again and again. If we take away anything from this gathering, we need to be in a state of awareness of ourselves, our patterns, our habits, our fears, our joys, everything. We need to know ourselves. So we go out into the world and we want to know other people and we explore. And sometimes we run away from knowing ourselves. So the best way to impact and change our situations, the karma that's in our lives, is to know what's coming up, to be honest with ourselves, to be really brutally honest about the things in our lives that we are contributing to that aren't working for us. So in this changing of the Sanchita karma, we have this beautiful opportunity to feel empowered and to feel that life is not happening to us, it's happening through us. And if it's happening through us, it's in us to make the changes and the adaptions and to have a new version. The third type of karma is called Vartarnama. And this is what's happening now. This is present karma. So this is where people will say, oh, if you go do this, you're going to get something good back. Or if you do that, that's bad karma. Karma is not that, we're not in that relationship with something. We don't do something. And sometimes you'll have an immediate reaction and you'll say, oh, that was, karma kickback. But it isn't happening that way because karma is not in the timeline that we are. So it's not, most of the karma that you're reaping now is not happening now. It happened before. It's not in this moment. It's happened before. It's still old karma coming forward. So we have to look at the karma the way that we deal with karma is to understand that all of our reactions and our behaviors, if they're coming from our heart and they're coming from the authentic self that we want to be into the world and for ourselves, then you're doing things out of an altruistic responsibility for yourself in the world. That's very different than doing something because if I do this good thing, then I'm going to get something back. If we expect something back, we're operating out of our ego, not out of the gentler, more compassionate, deepest essence of ourselves. And karma doesn't operate with ego. It doesn't care how you think about it. So we're trying to explore ourselves to a place where what it is that we're experiencing is coming from the honest, deep place. Our expression of love and caring for someone or for something doesn't come from what we will get back from it. It comes from an absolute response. We want to respond to life as it comes. And if we're in better relationship with the tendencies that we have in our system, such as patience and anger and anything that comes up as an emotion, if we're in better relationship with that, our responses into the world will be authentic and natural. Even if it's an explosion, it's coming from an honest place, not coming from an ego place of what might this mean or how might this affect the world. If we're doing it from our heart, it's naturally going to be in alliance with what's being called for. So how do we work with this? What do we do with these three different kinds of karma? So the first is that we have to take responsibility for how we're contributing to our current karma, the karmic cycle that's happening in our life now. So the choices that we make are done out of a heart space rather than done out of a mental space. We're not deciding to do things to get anything back. We have to change our mindset. In the Western world, our mindset is often very much a transaction. I do this, I get this. And karma is not working on transaction, even though that's the way we've imagined it, that's not the way it happens. So we have to take responsibility to be tapping into the truest sense of who we are, living into our highest nature, the highest attributes that we have within ourselves, to be living through those. That's where we start with the current karma that we can be creating. The goal is to not create karma at all, good or bad, because if you're operating from your highest essence, you're not doing something to get something back. So that isn't good karma. It's nothing. It's just the way we are. That's our natural state. So there's no movement of karma, good or bad. That's really a hard concept to get our minds around when we're used to doing things and contributing in a way that then makes us feel good. But we're doing it to feel good. We're addicted to that process. So we have to learn to step back from that and alter our interiority so that we're responding out of this humanness rather than out of this mental space of how do I feel like I've contributed. We want to be an organic part of the process. The second way that we can work with our karma is to work with the Sanchita, the karma that can be altered and changed. And the way we do that is we work on ourselves. That's what we're doing by gathering. That's what you're doing if you're going to therapy or you're working in circles or you're doing all the work you're doing on yourself is working on that Sanchita karma, because you're changing up whatever karma is hanging on those trees. You're giving that fruit the opportunity to ripen in the best possible way. You're taking care of yourself. Self-care is part of taking care of Sanchita karma. But we have to be in awareness. It all requires us being in awareness. And the third way is to take care of ourselves in such a way that when the karma that comes from the past that we cannot change, that which has already ripened, the Paraba karma, it's already ripened, it's dropping off the tree. I mean, we could say this is maybe what happened to Siddhi. She fell, she was conscious, she was thinking, she had her intentions, she was taking care of things, and yet it still came. The breaks still came. And that happens in life. Things are coming into our lives, even though we're practicing all of these different things, we're going to have rocks that fall on us. That's the way it is in the human condition. So even though we have those, if we're taking care of ourselves and we're honest in how it is that we're really looking at what needs to be shifted, we're really looking at our integrity, then we're shored up for when those things happen. Things will help take care of it. People will step in, situations will shift. That karma, even though it comes through your life, will not be a bomb coming through your life because you're taking care of yourself. This is really important for us. And it's not just self-care, it's self-exploration. We have to be in self-exploration. This is our time in our lives now with all that's going on to go deeply into plumbing what's happening in our system and be really honest with ourselves of where this changes need to come, where we want to shift. And then we're shored up for when this long-term karma comes through our lives that if you believe in past lives and past karma, could have come from 5 lifetimes ago. We don't know. Or maybe it just came from our childhood. We don't know, but it's come into our life. And if we're in a position to handle that, we have much more fluidity. And we feel much more in control of our lives because we're fluid enough that we know it's okay. I've shored myself up. Whatever is needed to take care of this situation will come. I'll get the support I need. I'll have the resources I need. It will happen. So we have ways of dealing with this karma and ways of being attentive to karma in our lives, but it requires awareness. So each of us have the opportunity to stay in a place of being really aware of ourselves and our habits and our patterns and the beauty that comes out of us, and being in deep gratitude for having this embodied form to practice this. So this week, spend your time looking at yourselves and looking at these things that you want to take responsibility for. Take full responsibility for all aspects of yourself. Please.
Good. So, and I feel, however we relate to karma, it's really about embracing. Because in the embracing is the letting go and is the surrendering. And I want to use a very simple mudra this morning for us, because when we are not in surrendering, we are in our emotional reactions. And I want us to balance our emotions this morning by simply placing the thumb of both hands on the tip of your pinky, the Varun mudra. So here we stabilize and balance our emotions. And we're resting this mudra, the finger position, on our knees. So everything is very relaxed. We're closing our eyes. And the fire balances and stabilizes the emotions inside of you right now. And this morning I want us to start with a pranayama and then we go into silence. So I invite you to inhale through your nose and to exhale through your open mouth. Inhale through your open mouth. And exhale through your nose. Inhale through your nose. And exhale, open mouth. Inhale, open mouth. And exhale through your nose. Inhale through your nose. And now continue this breath pattern in your own timing. Just stay with it. And it's the cosmic breath. But it also feels like the breath of the ocean. As the waves are coming in and moving out. Allowing ourselves to be present to motion. Motion brings change. And then I ask you to regulate your breath, just breathing in and out of your nostril, lifting your face slightly upward, keeping a mild focus between your eyebrows, and still observing the breath that moves through you. And bringing our awareness now to our perineum. And then below our belly button. And bringing our awareness into our solar plexus. Into our heart center. And then into our throat. Into the third eye. And we're connecting to our crown. And to the field around us. And we see if we can bring the sweetness of silence into all centers just for a moment. And in the state of coherence, we bring our palms together. And we're tuning out. Inhale. Shanti. 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 Good, my dears. May you take the sweetness of silence with you into the day. Namaste. Can you turn it on?
Feel better.
Thank you.